Okay, so I need to explore Batman's psychological evolution from his first appearance to the modern dark versions and how societal changes influenced his character. Let's start by breaking down the timeline of Batman's history. First, Batman debuted in 1939. Early on, he was more of a detective, maybe even a bit pulp-inspired. Then in the 40s and 50s, comics had the Comics Code Authority, so maybe Batman became more campy and kid-friendly. Then the 60s TV show was super campy. But then in the 70s and 80s, things got darker again, with Denny O'Neil and McNeil Adams. Then Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns in the 80s really changed things. Modern versions like Nolan's films or Arkham games are very gritty. So psychologically, Batman starts as a vengeful figure, maybe becomes more of a father figure in the 50s/60s with Robin, then loses some of that edge. Then in the 70s, maybe he becomes more brooding again. Miller's version is older, more traumatized. Modern takes might explore PTSD, moral complexity, etc. Societal changes. Post-Depression era when he started. Then World War II. Then post-war optimism leading to campiness. The 60s had social unrest, but the TV show was campy. Maybe a counterexample? Then 70s/80s, with Vietnam, Watergate, leading to darker heroes. 90s and 2000s, with more focus on psychological trauma, post-9/11 fears. Now maybe issues like mental health awareness, systemic corruption, need to tie each era's societal context to Batman's psyche. For example, the dark, gritty Batman of the 80s reflects the cynicism of the time. The campy 60s Batman reflects the optimism and maybe the desire for escapism. Modern Batman deals with complex villains that mirror real-world issues like terrorism, Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, or Chaos, the Joker in The Dark Knight. Also, consider other media, movies, TV shows, games. Each adaptation reflects the time it was made. Burton's Batman was gothic and eccentric, Schumacher's was neon and campy, Nolan's was realistic and post-9/11. Possible points to cover. 1. Golden Age, 1939 to 1950s. Pulp hero, driven by parents' death, but also more lighthearted adventures. 2. Silver Age, 1950s to 1970s. Introduction of sci-fi elements, more family-friendly, Batman as a father figure. 3. Bronze Age, 1970s to 1980s. Return to darker roots, street-level crime, social relevance. 4. Modern Age, 1980s to present. Psychological depth, moral ambiguity, trauma, and realism. 5. Influence of key writers and artists, O'Neil, Adams, Miller, Moore, Loeb, etc. 6. Societal events, Great Depression, World War II, Cold War, Civil Rights Movement, Vietnam, Watergate, 9/11, modern issues. Need to ensure each era's Batman reflects the societal mood and how his psychology changes. Maybe also discuss how villains evolved, Joker from prankster to anarchists, reflecting societal fears. Potential challenges, balancing different media interpretations versus comic book evolution. Also, some eras overlap, so need to clarify transitions. Also, how the audience's perception of mental health and vigilantism has changed over time. Also, think about the shift from Batman as a symbol of justice to a more flawed human character. Early Batman was more infallible. Later versions show his vulnerabilities, doubts, and ethical dilemmas. This could tie into societal changes where people are more skeptical of authority and want more complex heroes.